Hey, listen, every person that goes through a crisis, every person who's dealing with pain, our mind wants to find an explanation. We want to find the source of that crisis. Why did this happen to me? Who's responsible for it? Where should I direct my anger? And really, who should I point the finger? Who should I blame? So every crisis has a source. But if we don't identify the true source of our crisis, what happens is we have a wrong response. So we need to really think about what's the reason? How did I get here in my crisis? Because if we don't, we may end up blaming God who had nothing to do with it, or we blame, a person when there may be something more deep or more sinister behind what's happening. Many times we blame ourselves. What did I do? What should I have done? But many times what I find with guiding people through crisis, they don't identify the source at all, which kind of leaves them just the sources in a black hole or gray, misty fog. So in this video, what I want to do is give you the 4 possible sources of your crisis. And I want you to ask yourself the question, which one is the source of my crisis? So here's the 4 possible sources of crisis. I've guided many people through this. Once they identify what this is, it helps them a lot in navigating their pain and their crisis. Let me give you the 4. The first one is choices that we have made. Now, we all know that choices have consequences, and the accumulation of our choices sometimes has dire consequences. So sometimes we get into pain, we get into crisis because some of our own choices. We don't make good choices in our health, and it leads us into a health crisis. We start doing compromise in our marriage, and it could lead to an affair, which could blow up our marriage and could blow up our family. We make unwise financial investment, and we lose it, and causes us to lose our business, and maybe even lose our home. Sometimes it's addictions and addictive patterns, choices of those addictive patterns that leads us into crisis. So you get the point, you get the idea. Our choices have consequences, and sometimes the consequences, they lead us into a crisis. But here's the good news. You do not have to be haunted by these choices and to live under guilt and shame for the rest of your life. We have to take responsibility for them. We have to face ourselves, put ourselves in the mirror and say, I'm responsible for some of my choices. But if we'll do that, take responsibility, and maybe the pain that's brought to others, it can lead us into forgiveness by God to ourselves, and hopefully forgiveness from others. That doesn't always happen, but it will help us to rebuild our life and rebuild it in a redemptive way. So if you are in a crisis because of your choices, don't stay stuck there. Take responsibility, but then let God rebuild your life and lead you through the crisis. Let me give you the second source of crisis. And the second source of crisis are the choices that other people make. Sometimes our spouse, a friend, may make a choice that has spillover effect and brings pain to our life. Our spouse can move into an affair, affects us. A drunk driver can take the life of our child, moves us into a crisis. A business partner could defraud us. We're now in crisis. A family member or a friend abuses us, or when we were young, or abuses a child. That moves us into a crisis. I have a friend of mine whose wife, she was 5 months pregnant, was actually murdered through a home invasion. They lost a 5-month-old child as well. He had nothing to do with it. It was bad choices from others that it influenced in his own life. And if this is part of what you're walking through with your crisis, here's what I would encourage you in with the second choice. Ultimately, you must offer forgiveness, this person or these individuals. And here's why. If we don't, then we have two tragedies. We have the tragedy of the person hurt or lost because of their bad choices. But we also have the tragedy of our own life that's now locked in a prison of unforgiveness and bitterness that will ruin our life as well. So this is not easy to do, but if you fall to the second source of your crisis, I'd encourage you to move into the process of forgiveness so that you can move through your crisis and not get stuck in it. The third source of our crisis is that we still live in a fallen and broken world. This world is still under the curse. It is not redeemed yet. There is a day coming that it will be fully restored, fully redeemed, but that day isn't here yet. So even though you and I may be followers of Jesus, we're redeemed, but we still have the consequences of walking through this world. We still experience disease. We still experience decay. We still experience death. That's all part of the consequences of a fallen and broken world. I know when my late wife was killed in a car accident, this would have been the true source of my crisis. The doctors figured out that my wife had had a brain aneurysm. That's why she passed out and went through the red light and got hit at the red light. That accident ultimately caused her death. But what triggered it was a brain aneurysm. What is that? That's the decay of our body because we still live in a broken world. Yours may be because of cancer that's hit your home, mental illness that's hit your home, some other type of disease that hit your home. Why is that? It's because that you and I live in a broken and fallen world. And the fourth source of our crisis sometimes is direct attack from our enemy, Satan. Not always. It's not always direct, but he's always the mastermind behind destruction, evil. Jesus said he came to what? Kill, steal, and destroy. So sometimes he has direct attack. When my wife, again, Debbie, was killed, I had to ask the hard question, how much of his involvement was this in Debbie's death? We had just built a large church. It was a large growing church that I was pastoring. Debbie and I were about to build our dream home. We already had the plans drawn up. Our children were at the age they were about to leave home and go on their own. So we were entering into our dream season, my wife and I, after 25 years of being together. And it felt to some degree like this was an attack from the enemy. So I had to really think through that and figure that out. So those are the four sources of a person's crisis. The result of our own choices and the consequences of those. The result of other people's choices and the spillover effect on our life. Just the reality that we live in a fallen and broken world. And then the involvement in the enemy, Satan, in our life to wanting to kill, steal, and destroy. So listen, every crisis has a cause. It has a source. And we need to understand what that cause is. We need to name it for ourselves so we don't have the wrong response. So we know where to fight. So we know who to point the finger at. So we know where to offer forgiveness. So we know where to get forgiveness ourselves so we don't blame ourselves. And also so we don't blame God that he was the cause, of our pain, the cause of our crisis. So understanding these causes is extremely important. It helps us in at least three ways. First of all, I say it this way. If we don't name it, we can't tame it. So you have to name it. When I named the crisis for me was the third source. Debbie had a brain aneurysm. It's the consequences of living in a fallen world. Her body was decaying, and the result of that was a crisis. That helped me to name it and then give attention and focus in that area. The second reason it helps, we are able to, I call it, parse our pain. Sometimes our pain is just, there's so much emotion there. We are so overwhelmed. There's so much grief. There's so much confusion. There's so much uncertainty that we feel all these emotions. But when you at least name the true source of your crisis, then you're able to give it some intellectual, some cognitive awareness. It's not just all pain and hurt. You're now able to give it some understanding. I'm in the pain and crisis as a result of this source. And then the last reason it's helpful is because it gives agency back to us. When a person goes through crisis, many times they feel powerless. But naming the true source of your crisis and then being able to give attention to it gives you some agency back. So here's your question. If you're in crisis, if you're in pain, name the true source of your crisis. Name the true source of your pain. That will help you. I can guarantee you, it will help you more wisely navigate through your crisis. So if this has been helpful, there's two ways you can respond. Watch this next video. It's specific on helping people navigate through crisis. So watch this next video. It will help you further navigate your crisis well. And then please like, leave a comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is all about guiding followers of Jesus through defining moments of life and leadership so you don't get stuck or stall out, so you can stay on the right track to ultimately finish well. Let me help you in any way I can. If you are in a crisis zone, I want to help you to navigate it well so you ultimately move through it and you ultimately finish your life well. Let me